Hello, my name is Hope Boynton and I am a member of the Sequatchie County FCCLA chapter, and I will be competing in Level 3 of the Public Policy Advocate STAR event. For my project, I set out to advocate for the abolishment or reformation of the death penalty in Tennessee. Throughout this project, I used the FCCLA planning process to help guide and plan my project. First of all, I needed to identify my concerns. My concern was that the death penalty is unfair and that several people have been wrongfully executed. In Tennessee, our execution chambers went from being the least used to the most used in a less than 30-year period. Additionally, Purvis Payne, a black man who did not receive a fair trial, is on death row in Tennessee. My goal for this project was to educate people on the shortcomings of the death penalty, advocate for the abolishment of the death penalty in Tennessee, and change people's minds about the death penalty if they are in support of it. I also wanted to speak to Governor Bill Lee about Purvis Payne's case. In preparation for this project, I formed a plan. My plan included speaking to Tennessee Congress members who are located in Nashville, Tennessee. I wanted to speak with them about the abolishment and reformation of the death penalty. I also wanted to educate people about the shortcomings of the death penalty. The cost of this project was going to be relatively cost effective, as email and Zoom would be the main means of communication. Unfortunately, I was not able to manage my time properly and failed to complete my goals before district competition deadlines. In order to act on that plan, I needed to form a presentation to present and educate people about the death penalty, reach out to legislators and ask them about their opinions on the death penalty, and attempt to change their minds about it. Later on, speak with legislators to aid in forming a bill for the abolishment or reformation of the death penalty, and then find partnerships within my area to collaborate advocacy with. Following up, I was unable to reach out to legislators. Unfortunately, I poorly managed my time while doing this project. I failed to get my emails and points ready before the deadline for this project approached. However, I was able to educate people in my community about the death penalty when Brandon Renard and Dustin Higgs were executed in December and January. I plan to continue my advocacy and reach out to my state legislators. I also plan to continue spreading awareness about the death penalty by using social media platforms. This project most closely connects to FCS Standard 3.2.2, which states, analyze the contributions of policymakers to consumer advocacy. When researching this issue, I found that it concerns Tennessee state policies, criminal justice reform, and civil rights. The death penalty has been proven to be a system that is plagued with racism and far too often abused by the government. Specifically, Purvis Payne is awaiting execution for a crime that he did not receive a fair trial for. My project goals. My first goal was to raise awareness about the flaws of the death penalty. Secondly, I wanted to advocate for legislation supporting the abolishment of the death penalty. Third, I wanted to change the minds of politicians who are pro-death penalty. And I wanted to educate people about the bias of the death penalty. I wanted to gain support for abolishing the death penalty in Tennessee. I wanted to meet with both state and federal senators and representatives. I wanted to work to get Purvis Payne off of death row in Tennessee and speak to Governor Bill Lee about the death penalty. My methods of action for this project included researching the death penalty and becoming very educated on the topic, finding organizations that advocate for the abolishment of the death penalty in Tennessee, emailing those organizations about any further information they may have on the topic. If time allowed, I wanted to meet with legislators in Tennessee and talk with them about their thoughts on the death penalty. I also wanted to speak with Governor Bill Lee about Purvis Payne and his execution. My discussion points. What helped form your opinion on the death penalty? Do you foresee Tennessee abolishing the death penalty in the near future? What has been the most shocking part of your research on the death penalty? Defend your stance on the death penalty. Pro or anti? Why? Do you feel that the death penalty is inherently racist? What has been the most heartbreaking death penalty case, either the prisoner themselves or the case that landed them on death row? What is your favorite story of redemption from death row? As with any issue, the death penalty has its pros and its cons. The pros can include that the death penalty can be seen as constitutional, according to the 14th and 15th Amendments. The death penalty may deter potential offenders from committing capital offenses due to their fear of a death sentence. The death penalty is viewed by some as a way to end the cycle of violence before it damages too many lives and serve as closure to victims' families. The cons. It is less effective to execute someone than sentencing them to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Some people believe that the death penalty does not deter crime. The justice system can be racist and very flawed, which may result in a false conviction. Throughout this project, I did extensive research about the death penalty in Tennessee. Tennessee first started executing people in 1916. The first person to be executed was a black man named Julius Morgan. After executing someone nearly every year from 1916, executions in Tennessee came to a halt from 1960 to 2000. Robert Coe was the first prisoner who broke the nearly 40-year execution-free streak. After his execution, there was another execution-free period between 2000 and 2006. From August 2018 to February 2020, there have been more executions carried out in Tennessee than in any other 2-year period. Presently, there are 50 people on death row in Tennessee. These numbers break down to be 21 white men, 1 white woman, 26 black men, 1 Hispanic man, and 1 Asian man. The majority of people on death row in Tennessee are black men, making up 52% of death row inmates. Currently, electrocution and lethal injection are the methods of execution that Tennessee uses. Death row inmates have the option to choose which way they wish to be executed. The most recently executed inmate, Nicholas Sutton, chose electrocution. The death penalty is an expensive way that justice can be served. In Tennessee, a death trial, on average, costs $46,791, compared to that of a life without parole sentence of $31,494. Tennesseans, for alternatives to the death penalty, concluded that an execution is 48% more expensive than a lifelong sentence. Furthermore, it has been proven that the death penalty does not deter crime. The results of a New York Times study concluded that states that had the death penalty had a homicide rate 48% to 101% higher than the national average. Purvis Payne, a Tennessee man, has been on death row for 32 years. Purvis Payne's case is one riddled with racism and negligent police work. There is DNA evidence in Purvis Payne's case that has yet to be tested. This DNA would prove or disprove his innocence. Throughout his case, he was portrayed to be a hypersexual, violent, drug-addicted black man. Although he was accused of taking drugs the night of the crime, Purvis Payne has no previous drug history. Many people in support of the death penalty argue that the system provides closure to victims' families. Many of these families state that an execution does not stop the pain. It passes it on to another family. Dustin Higgs was executed on January 16, 2021. One of his alleged victim's sister, Tangi Jackson, stated, "They are now going to go through the same pain we experienced. When the day is over, your death will not bring my sister back." This is not closure. If legislation were to be passed about the death penalty, it would go through the House and Senate committees. The House Criminal Justice Committee and the Senate Judiciary Committee would vote on bills concerning the death penalty. There is currently a bill about the death penalty and intellectual disabilities. Currently, there are no votes on this bill. Both the House and Senate committees are predominantly Republican, which most likely means that they are in support of the death penalty. The Tennessee House Criminal Justice Committee and the Tennessee Senate Judiciary Committee are the target audience for this project. When researching this project, I set out to find partners that could help me in my advocacy. I found Tennesseans for Alternatives to the Death Penalty, an advocacy group from Tennessee focused on reforming the justice system and the death penalty. Tennessee conservatives concerned about the death penalty is a branch of the TADP, which is a group of conservatives that believe the death penalty goes against their views. Just City Memphis works to free and aid people who have been wrongfully jailed. The results. Throughout my advocacy, I was able to educate my community on the death penalty after Dustin Hicks' execution. Thank you for your time. Throughout this project, I learned how to write and give an elevator speech. This will be very beneficial to me in my professional life later on. Throughout this project, time management became something that I really struggled to get under control. As soon as I noticed it becoming a problem, I sat down and blocked out times out of my day when I could further work on the project and continue advocating for the abolishment of the death penalty in Tennessee. Thank you.